Um, we're going to try and pick up where we left off on the last history of the family. We were having problems with Uncle Ben's history.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Right.
Where did he go to high school?
He went to Central High. He met Aunt Gertie in a German class, but they weren't friendly, they just knew each other. And they met a few years later on a blind date. My cousin and my half-brother, Harry Shannon, fixed Uncle Ben up with Aunt Gertie. Aunt Gertie was a friend of Harry Shannon's first wife, Rose. He was married twice. His first wife. And it was instant love. And they got married a few months after that.
A few months after they started dating?
Yeah, they didn't date very long because...
They were out of high school at this point?
Oh, sure. She met him a few years later.
Okay.
And in December 1941, they got married. And they moved into an apartment on Walcott Terrace. Then Uncle Ben... Yeah. Uncle Ben was called into service. And they had to give up the apartment. So he went into basic training.
In Fort Dix?
Yeah, Fort Dix. And then she stayed there a few months, and after he went to Chanute, Illinois?
Well, when he went into basic, she went back to live with her parents.
Yeah, she stayed in the apartment for 2 months, to know how the things were running. Then when he went to was it Chanute, Illinois, the first one?
Uncle Ben had basic training at
Blackstone,
in Miami?
Blackstone Hotel. He went to Miami for that.
That's still basic training.
Yeah. It was beautiful there. The hotel was still very nice. It's still there now.
I can't believe
but
that.
It's in shambles. It's a senior citizen place now. And she moved back with her parents.
What kind of training can you get in a hotel?
On the beach, in the hot sun. He lost weight there. Oh, sure. Yeah, I remember they used to sweat in that hot sun, and they didn't give him any relief from the heat.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
All right, then he went to Scottsfield,
Illinois. And then after and then in the meantime, she went to live with him there.
In Chanute?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then afterwards, she became pregnant, and she came back, and she stayed with me. And Uncle Ben was...
And where were we then? Or was I was born then?
Oh, he was still,
we're on Ridgewood Avenue?
on Ridgewood Avenue, sure. And then she stayed with me until Mark was born. Then she went, and they got an apartment on Hawthorne Avenue. Her aunt had an apartment house. So they
I remember that one.
Yeah.
Well, Uncle Ben was out of the service then
Yeah.
when Mark was born?
Yeah. He was just coming out then. And
was he there for the delivery when, at the time she delivered, he was home?
I think, Mom was sure he was there.
Okay.
And they lived there for a while, for a few years. And then afterwards, Andrew was born in that.
On Hawthorne Avenue?
On Hawthorne Avenue, too.
Okay.
So, and then from there, they moved to Wacoic Avenue. From Wacoic Avenue, they moved to Hobson Street. Is it Leslie Street, where her sister passed away. So she moved into that house. And
then
they went to Harding Terrace. From Harding Terrace, they moved to Hillside on Navy Street.
Yeah, I remember.
And then from there, they moved to Florida.
In 66.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, great. I think that about covers everything with them. All right. You know what we didn't mention when we were talking about the last time about yourself? We never mentioned how Grandpa died.
Grandpa had a very pathetic death. Grandpa wasn't feeling good. He had had a stroke when he was living on Shepherd Avenue in the third floor, the upper.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to go to work one morning, and they called me from his job that he didn't show up. And I says, oh no, he was supposed to, he left. So at the time, Daddy had a bad cold, fortunately. Fortunately, he had a cold.
Which was unusual.
And he was home with me. And we both went up to see what happened, and we found him on the floor, and I thought he was dead, but you know, he was still alive. And we brought him back to health, and we moved him downstairs from the upper, and we all...
He had a stroke, right?
He had a stroke, and we moved downstairs. And he was downstairs for quite a long time. But he never, you know, he wasn't well enough to get dressed. He used to walk around with a bathrobe, and he used to, from the stroke, you know, saliva used to drip, so he used to wear a towel around his neck. And he did have a heart condition due to the stroke, too. So I was working in the office in Robert True Savings alone, and it was a late night, a Monday night, and I see Daddy and Billy coming to the office to pick me up. And I thought it was very unusual. And they told me that they had come home from work, the two of them, Billy from school and Daddy from work, and they came, opened the door, and they found Grandpa burned to death on the floor. He had tried to make himself a cup of tea, and the doctor says, Dr. Greenberg at the time said that he must have had a heart attack and fell over the tea kettle, because when Daddy came in, the tea kettle was fiery red, and it was still burning. He was burned to a crisp, and that's what the doctor said, which gave me, you know, some relief to feel that he died before he got burned. Unfortunately, the house didn't catch fire. Everything was fireproof, you know. Just a little know where he fell on the floor, that was burnt. The curtains, he didn't get ignited, you know, close enough. So fortunately, otherwise the whole house would have burnt up. So that was the...
Did you mention before what your mother died of?
She died of a heart condition, you know. Just she had in this day and age, we would say she was allergic. She had always had trouble breathing, bronchial condition, short of breath, and things of that sort. And she finally died of a heart gave out.
Okay.
And my mother was only 59 years old.
She was 59?
59, my mother was.
Your father was up?
My father, I think, was 72, something like that, around that age.
Okay. Now, Daddy's side, we got some information from Aunt Sarah before she was passed away. Aunt Sarah died of heart. She had bad heart.
Yeah, very bad heart condition.
And she was, how old was she?
Aunt Sarah was 85.
So she was up there.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
In fact, this month she would have been 85, December. This next month she would have been 85.
Yeah. Okay. Daddy, all right, his grandmother, Jenny,
Mm-hmm.
he said had 4 children.
Yeah.
Daddy's mom, Baba Hansa.
Ethel Laser.
Okay.
And,
Bessie.
yeah.
Bessie. Okay. They were born in Romania.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then from Romania,
They went to London.
they went to London. All of them?
Yeah.
All right. Daddy was born
They
in
moved
Romania?
because there
Oh,
was
these
some
were the-
kind
these
of
were-
war problems, you know, pogroms and things like that, so they picked themselves up and went to London.
Okay. So Baba Hansa now is in London. She met her husband in London. He was,
No, she was married.
oh, she was married at the
Yeah, she
time.
went with, Daddy went too, from Romania to London.
Daddy was born in Romania.
Yeah.
I thought
No, he
he
was
was
born
born
in
in London.
England. No, he was born in England. That's right, he was born in England. Then he went back to Romania.
All right, let's start. We're starting with my grandmother and her family. They were all from Romania.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, she met her husband in Romania.
Yeah,
She got married there.
yeah.
Okay, that was, and his name was Luper Davidovich? Lupu
Lupu
was his first name?
Davidovich, yeah. L-U-P-U.
That was,
Davidovich,
okay,
yeah.
Lupu.
Yeah, golf, which means ball.
All right. Okay, so then they got married in Romania.
Mm-hmm.
They have children when they were in Romania?
I think they were all born in London.
Okay.
And then they went
Yeah.
back to Romania, and then they went back to London. From London, they migrated to America.
Okay, yeah.
But
So
they
so
came
all
in
the
dribs
twins-
and drabs. They didn't come all together to America.
Okay. They had the twins. They were born first?
They were born first and
And
died at birth.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
Then there was Nathan.
Nathan. Now what happened to him?
He died in America at the age of 21.
From what?
Pneumonia.
Pneumonia. Okay, and then Uncle Dave?
Then Uncle Dave was born, and then Aunt Sarah, and then Daddy.
Okay. Then, now, my grandfather died in England. He was killed.
He died in Romania when they went back to Romania.
Oh, they went back to Romania.
Yeah.
Why did they go back, you know?
I don't remember that. I don't remember that story.
Yeah, okay, so they ended up going, the whole family, all of them went back to Romania.
And Daddy's grandma went with him all the time.
She was living with Baba Hansa.
Yeah, right.
All the time.
Right. And later on, when they came to America, she helped raise the children while Baba Hansa went to work, even in London when she had to go to work. So the grandmother helped raise the children.
All right. All right, so they went back to Romania,
Mm-hmm.
and he was working, delivering coal or something in a horse and wagon.
Yeah.
And he got crushed.
Crushed, right.
I remember that story.
Yeah.
But I also remember a story, and I don't think I saw it on these notes that Aunt Sarah gave, of Daddy saying that he had killed a man in a bar.
Yeah, well, that was an incident that had nothing to do with any other things there,
Did that happen in London that made them go back to Romania?
I
Or
think
Romania made them go to London?
I think that happened in Romania. All these things happened in Romania, I think.
Yeah. Okay, and, all right, so do you have any idea about how old he was when he got killed? Or how old Daddy was when his father died?
Daddy, wait a minute, wait a minute now, this all comes back. No, his father died in London because, I remember now, because when Uncle Dave went to say Yiska in shul, Daddy ran after him, and he got hit by a trolley car, and he got that scar on his forehead. His father died in London, now that I remember.
All right, so they were in London, the father
Yeah,
died.
yeah.
So then they went back to Romania after he died?
Yes, so if that's the case, then they didn't go back to Romania, then they stayed in London and they came to America from there.
Okay. All right, now how did they come over? Let's see. Do you know who came first?
Uncle Dave and his brother Nathan.
Uncle Dave, and just the two of them together came over.
Yeah.
They came into New York? They
came
settled
to
in New York?
Ellis Island. They came into Ellis Island.
Okay, and they settled in New
They
York?
did not settle. They settled in Jersey because Uncle Lou and Uncle Michael, and Grandma's brothers were in Newark.
Oh, okay.
So she settled here.
That's Katz.
Yeah.
Katz.
Mm-hmm. The Katz family.
Okay. So they settled here.
Mm-hmm.
They were not married at the time. Uncle Dave wasn't married, was he, when he came over?
No, they were single.
They were
They
young,
were all
yeah,
single.
young boys, okay.
Then Grandma and Aunt Sarah came over.
Okay, and they all lived together with they moved in with the two boys in Jersey?
Yeah, they got an apartment. And then Daddy came over with his grandma.
Okay, he was about 16 at the time.
He was 16 at the time. At the time, he was working in a store that sold china, a china shop. He was working there, going to school and working. And then when he came over in Ellis Island, they stopped him. They wouldn't let him go through because they said he can go through, but his grandma couldn't because because of her eyes. She had cataracts and things like that. So they said he can go, but she couldn't, but he wouldn't go, So he went back with the grandma
Back to England.
back to England, and Uh, Now, at that point, I don't know whether they checked him before he got to Ellis Island, whether they checked him in London, or no, it was in Ellis Island.
Then they had to go back, I guess.
Yeah, he
didn't-
went
didn't
back,
take it.
and his former employees put them up until the grandma felt better. They were so crazy about Daddy, and they gave him money to keep him going. And then when Grandma's eyes got better, then they came again, and they were let go. They were let through Ellis Island, and they came and joined the family.
Let's see here, I'm going to backtrack a little bit again. I'm just reading something here about this business of going back and forth to Romania. Baba Hansa thought she could make a living in Romania, where her sister Bessie lived.
Mhm.
This was when they were in London. He must have died, and he got killed in London.
Yeah,
So she figured she could make more money going back to Romania.
Yeah,
So then they did
yeah.
go back to Romania.
Yeah, and then after the.
And she opened a grocery store.
Mhm.
And the war
Right.
started between Turkey and Romania.
Yeah, there was pogroms and there was a lot of
So
problems.
she went
there.
back to London.
London, right.
Okay.
And because of her brothers being in America, she thought she'd come to America.
All right, he went to the high school when he got here.
Daddy went to junior high.
Cleveland Junior High in Newark.
He went to Cleveland Junior High. And
But he
was
didn't
there-
graduate.
He didn't graduate. He went there for 1 year, and then he went to work.
In the Clinton Bergen right away, or?
Oh, no. He worked, for a short time, he worked in a watch factory. He was making radium dials, and many a time I often think, he used to tell me that at that time they used to lick the brush and put him into the radium, to paint the dials. Whether that had something to do with his lungs.
The cancer?
Of course, it's many, many, many years, he was a young boy, but you never know what can have festered it.
It's true, that's true.
Because I remember he used to have, and he got very tired of working there because he was bored sitting on the chair all the time. He wanted to go out and active work. So he was there, a few months and he left. But he told me, many a time, he used to work with a very thin little brush, very fine, lick it to his lips and dip it into the radium and paint the dials.
I wouldn't be surprised if that caused this cancer later on.
Many a time I think of it subconsciously.
Yeah. All right, so how long did he do that?
He worked there for a few months, and then he went out, and he went to work for, I forget their name, they had a fruit and vegetables store, a small store in Irvington. They were the ones who also took a liking to Daddy, and when we got married, we took pictures in their home. They had a beautiful fireplace, so we went to their home to take
I was
pictures.
wondering about that, because I just have the wedding picture in front of the fireplace, and it said you were married in the synagogue.
No, they had a one-family home, and Daddy was working for them, and we went there and took pictures from their home, and then we went to the shul.
Oh, that was sneaky.
Yeah.
So that's why I thought you were
Wasn't it funny?
married to somebody's
I knew their names so well, but I don't remember it anymore. They were childless. They were a couple. They didn't have children, and they just were wild about Daddy. And then from there, he went to work in the Clinton.
Why did he leave them? Did the business fold?
They retired. They gave up the store.
Well, at what
They were-
point, I thought he and Uncle Ben were trying to open a store or something at one point.
That was Daddy's store. That was when we were first married, and the store closed. The one that he knew, in Irvington, they closed up. So Daddy tried to go for himself and opened up a store in Irvington on the Newark Irvington line near Olympic Park. And Uncle Benny worked for us, helping us out, but it was very poor. We didn't do well at all. Luckily, we didn't have our own home. We lived with my parents. And I was working, so, I was supporting.
So from there he went into Clinton and Bergen.
Yeah. Yeah, he went for a while. He went to Trenton. He tried to work there, and it just didn't work out. You know, he didn't like to be away from home. He loved to be at home. And then he worked for the Clinton Hill for about 20 years, I think it was.
As long as I remember,
Yeah,
it was in
yeah.
Clintonburg.
A long, long time. And
Then they closed, they went into bankruptcy.
yeah, Shushi took over when the owners died. Shushi took over, and Daddy practically ran the store. And they wanted Daddy to buy it, but Shushi, you know, wanted such a crazy amount and he had just wore it down to the ground. It was nothing really worthwhile saving unless he just walked away and we picked it up, but it wasn't worthwhile. So Daddy left there, and then he got a job in the ShopRite.
Yeah, right, up in South Orange.
South Orange, yeah. And that's where he worked, you know,
Until he
until the
retired.
end, yeah.
And it worked out well with the ShopRite because then he was able to get a pension. Clinton and Bergen didn't have anything.
No, he had nothing there. And he ended up, you know, from the fruit and vegetables, he was in the delicatessen, the appetizing department. He worked there because he had the hernia operation, so he couldn't lift heavy packages anymore.
Yeah.
So the company was very nice, and they put him in the appetizing department where he didn't have to lift heavy packages.
Well, he was lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky. What made you decide to move down to Florida, to retire down there?
Aunt Sarah moved to Florida, and she, you know, when she went, you know, she was so unhappy she would never see us again. So he says, "Don't worry, we'll come down to visit you."
How often did you see her in New York, in Brooklyn?
Well, she was, you know, that's the way, you know, at least, you know, once a year we'd see her in Florida. She figured we'd never come to Florida. So he came down to visit her one year, and I was ready to retire because of all the robberies. I didn't want to work in the bank anymore. So I had retired at the age of 65. Daddy didn't want to. He wanted to continue working as long as he's up here. So we visited Aunt Sarah, and we sort of liked it. And we came home, and Daddy and I discussed it, that we should go down and look for something. If we find something that we like, he should also retire. And he worked until we went down again to visit Aunt Sarah with the idea of looking. And sure enough, as soon as we came down, that second day, we stayed with Aunt Sarah while we were down there. The second day, we found the apartment that I'm living in now. And we went home, and then Daddy gave his notice, and he quit. Daddy was 70, I think, 70 years old, 70 when he quit. He worked, but then, you know, that's why he got more and more Social Security, and that's why I'm,
Because he didn't start getting his Social Security until he was 70.
Sure. So
Makes a big
every year,
difference.
you know, he got more and more. That's why, you know, I have a nice income.
Yeah, that's good. That's great.
Well, mine was just a few dollars less than his. Wasn't more than maybe about $20 difference between his and mine, but at least, you know, $20 counts. And then also his retirement, he was getting $124 a year, you know, every month
From the pension.
from the ShopRite.
Right.
And Daddy always told me that if he should pass away, I would never get any money, so I didn't expect anything. So when Daddy died, I called the union and told them to stop sending the, you know, retirement that he had passed away. So they started asking me all kinds of questions, you know, how old I was, how long I was married, and they said, make a copy of the marriage certificate, send them a copy, and I says to them, well, what's the sense of doing that? I says, you know, I figured I'm not entitled to anything. They said as long as I was the age of 70 and married to him for many years, I was entitled to half his retirement.
Oh, well, that was good.
So I get $62 every single month.
Great.
That's found money, which I never expected.
Yeah.
And every year I have to send stating that I'm still alive and I'm entitled to the money, and I get it.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, sure.
And the 1 year that they don't get the letter, they don't send you any money, right?
That's right, yeah, yeah.
That's not bad. You know, you mentioned the robberies at the Robert Tree.
Yeah.
You know, you want to talk about those? There was two of them.
Four.
Four? Well, I remember the one that you were in the basement when you were doing
Not
something
the
down.
basement, it was all one floor level, there was no basement.
I thought there was files or something downstairs that you had done.
No, everything was on street level. The big one was really a bad one, where one policeman was shot, injured permanently.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Oh, sure. He was given a desk job in the city hall.
All right, what happened? How did the robbery occur?
There was a parade going on, and we had a park next door to the bank on Clinton Avenue. And the mayor was there with his bodyguards and all. In the meantime...
Was that Adonisio? What was his name? The mayor?
Yeah, Adonisio. He was at the park at the dedication services. They're dedicating that park. In the meantime, while the thing was going on, there was 4 colored robbers came and held us up.
Black now they call him.
Black, oh, excuse me. One was across the street playing, chicky, watching. Yeah. And the 3 of us held us all, with sort of shotguns. They had stocking masks on their faces.
Oh my God.
And we were all made to lay on the ground. It's a lot of details where they dragged one of the little girls, off a stool by her hair and dragged her across the whole bank floor, because she was so dumbstruck, she didn't get off the high stool fast enough that they were very brutal. And then they made...
Were you a teller then? Or you were in the...
No, I was in the back.
Okay.
And then a policeman that was tied up with the bank, with the parade, he sort of thought it was something kind of fishy, and he walked and he was looking in the window into the bank when he saw what was going on. The lookout across the street, shot from across the street, shot him in the back.
Oh my God.
And crippled him. The mayor was coming out with his guards out of the parade grounds at the time, and he saw what was going on. They chased them.
The mayor
And the guard and this driver.
Well, the other guys ran out of the bank when
they ran
heard
out the bank.
shotgun?
Yes, they ran out. They got the money. They had money and all. And 2 of them were caught on Chadwick Avenue, a few blocks away from the bank, hiding under a porch someplace. The other 2 weren't caught. I had to go to court. Then sometime later, about a year later, they caught the other 2 also. And they were convicted for many years in jail. But I was petrified, going to... but that wasn't the first one. The first one that I was ignorant about it was a lone gunman came into the bank. And I was in the back working and didn't hear anything. And he shot a bullet into the wall to tell the tellers he wasn't fooling around. He bolted over the teller windows, and he came into the room behind the tellers. I heard the commotion and came from the back where I was working and faced the gunman face to face. He was wearing a trench coat, and he had a little gun, And he looked at me, I looked at him. I turned around and walked away, and he turned around and walked away. He had the money in the bag, and he was trying to get out, So I went around. There was a door that went around through a side room, which is a director's room, and there was another door that went into where the customers come. Well, he bolted over the teller's windows again, and it went out. I went out that door, and I went out and I chased after him. He went up the street, and at the corner, he had his car parked. I went after him, and he crossed the street, and he went up to the corner and got into his car. He turned around once and looked at me again. But I kept walking up. I figured I could get the license number or do something. But I couldn't. He got into the car with a screech of the brakes and got away so fast that we couldn't get him.
Couldn't even get a couple of license
So,
plates.
no. So when the FBI men came, afterwards, and they dug the bullet out, from the wall, and they showed it to me, and they said, don't you ever do that again. They come in, they want some, you give it to them, just don't ask questions.
That was
the first
crazy.
one, yeah.
That was nuts.
Yeah.
And the other two weren't with guns, or wasn't it bad?
Yeah, well, the last one, the third one was a minor one, that he came and he took and he went, and then there was one where there was 1, 2, 3, no, the last one was up in South Orange Avenue. The third one was with two colored men, came to the door early in the morning, and they,
Before you opened up?
before we opened up, they knocked on the door, wanted to come in, Mr. Matties, and he says, the doors are closed. We're not open yet. So they stood and waited, and they well-dressed, two black men dressed beautifully. And when the doors opened, Matty says, all right, you can come in now. They came in and held us up. And they used handcuffs.
Oh my gosh, for everybody?
They handcuffed, some of them they did. They handcuffed me. Well, some of the girls weren't in yet. They came in a little later to work.
Yeah.
So they handcuffed me and a few of the others. And Aunt Gertie was working at the bank at the time. And she comes in and she says to me, what are you standing like that for? I'm handcuffed, and she wants to know why I'm so nonchalant. So I says, I'm handcuffed, I can't do anything. So they took the money and they left us handcuffed and they went.
At least they didn't hurt anybody.
Then the police came with great big cutters, and they cut the handcuffs off. They didn't have keys,
Sure.
And my wrists were cut and bruised for weeks after that.
Oh my God.
The last one was at South Orange Avenue, a lone gunman. He came in and he came to Aunt Gertie's window. I was a teller at the time. At Aunt Gertie's window, and it's my window. And he had a paper bag and told us to put the money, give him money. We gave him money. And he was putting it into the paper bag. And he couldn't work with both hands, so he put the gun underneath his armpit. And then putting it in, the gun went off.
Oh my God.
Luckily, it wasn't facing up. It shot into the ground. The bullet went in the ground. So he grabbed
But
it
it
there
didn't shoot his
and he
throat.
ran. Now, the cops came with pictures. We went down to the police station. Nobody seemed to recognize what he looked like. I picked him out of the file. And a year later, he was shot to death holding a bank in South Carolina.
Oh,
And he was the one that I identified.
And they weren't able to find him in Jersey? Huh?
No. A year later, they caught up with him.
Well, he got
But that was a close. But after that, I wanted to get out of the banking business in the worst way because I kept
Did they have
looking.
any security or cameras or?
We had cameras, yeah.
Those guys?
Yeah, but nobody used it. We had all of that. We had the alarm system and all, and we kept telling Provost, that because Miss Stern was dead at the time, that an Irish president took